Okay, I'd like to demonstrate an activity called Talk to Text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down my reading process and write what I'm thinking about as I'm reading. And this is an article in the Social Sciences. It's called Conformity and Obedience by Richard T. Schaefer. When I read the title, I want to pay attention to the title because the title is going to give away the main idea. I think about conformity, and it makes me think about um, cliques at school and how people like to conform to groups. And obedience makes me think of parenting and discipline. And it also, the pairing of these two words together makes me want to question what's the difference between conformity and obedience. So that's just on the title. And then I read techniques for social control operate on both group level and societal level. All right, so conformity and obedience are types of social control. So I've just summarized. And when I think of group level, I actually, in my head, I kind of see a group of people together. I'm not a very good artist, but you know what I mean. And for society, I don't have a very a visual for that, but it makes me think of, towns and American society, things like that. Those would be connections. People whom we regard as our peers or as our equals, when I read that, I think about my colleagues here at Northern Essex. When you read that, maybe you think about your friends from high school, your friends here at school, um, the people that you go online with and talk to on MySpace, or people that you talk to on the phone. So the people whom we regard as our peers or our equals influence us to act in particular ways. The same is true of people who hold authority over us or occupy awe-inspiring positions. Okay, so I'm seeing two things here. I'm seeing peers versus authority. When I read the word authority, I think of policemen, right? Or perhaps you might think of teachers, right? And so what I'm thinking about here is that there's a difference between peers and authority, but both peers and authorities have some kind of control over us. That would be another summary. Stanley Milgram, 1975, made a useful distinction between these two important levels of social control. Okay, good. So you can see that my question up here actually became a prediction of what would follow. And that happens a lot when we read. So when you read, make sure that you write down your questions as you read, because often your questions turn into predictions that they may come true, they may not, but they still become a way for you to engage in the reading at a much deeper level. Milgram defined conformity as going along with peers, individuals of our own status. Okay, so when I read that, I think about, everybody wearing hoodies now, right? Every student. Same clothes, right? So peers of our own status have no special right to direct our behavior. By contrast, obedience is defined as compliance with higher authorities in a hierarchical structure. And I might underline hierarchical because if I didn't know what that word was, I'd write a question mark right there. Since I know that hierarchy means vertical levels, I can kind of make sense that an authority is someone who is above us. Thus, a recruit entering a military service will typically conform to the habits and language of other recruits and will obey the orders of superior officers. Students will conform to drinking behavior of their peers. Okay, so these, when I'm reading these, I know that these are examples, right? And they explain two very important concepts. They explain conformity and obedience. So now we've basically done just 2 paragraphs talking to the text, and I would like for you, when you do your reading and when you read the rest of this article, for you to do the same. Talk to the text, write down all your connections, everything you're visualizing, any questions you might have, any clarifications, circle words you don't understand. All of these things are things that people do when they read. It just happens so fast that often we're not aware that they're happening. Okay, so now I'd like you to print out this article, and I'd like you to finish the article and you finish talking to the text. You should have lots of notes in the margin. The more notes, the better. Okay, give it a try.